Welcome back. This week, Ole Miss football coach Lane Kiffin officially leaving and becoming the head coach of the LSU Tigers.
This ending weeks of speculation, and here to break it down for us is Matt DeGregorio. Over the summer, Matt, there was an ESPN documentary titled The Many Lives of Lane Kiffin. You essentially saw the end of Lane Kiffin's life at Ole Miss at the press conference after the Egg Bowl. Then you were there for the beginning of his life at LSU in this introductory press conference. Very few people, I don't know, you might have been the only one to have seen both of those things. How different was the man in those two settings?
The Alpha and the Omega.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you what, you saw maybe the most genuine side at times of Lane Kiffin in that press conference on that Friday. I think it was a guy who was at least putting on the persona that he was genuinely torn. And I think at times he actually emotionally was. I do think that he loves Oxford, Mississippi, but I do think also saying that at the same time, LSU is an opportunity as a kid that Lane Kiffin dreamed about. It's a blue blood program that has won national titles in the past. They are an established recruiting ground, one of the most fertile recruiting grounds in the nation, and Lane Kiffin could not pass that up. Going back to your question, on that Monday, I mean, just literally 72 hours after that, Lane Kiffin was doing something that I had never seen Lane Kiffin do in my time here, and that was look down at a paper. He spoke very artificially at times. I mean, a lot of the questions, I don't want to say necessarily that they were staged, but they were predetermined on some of the people who were going to ask the questions there. I think that maybe, I mean, this is just an assumption, he could have looked at that and said, hey, maybe I pre-approved a couple media members here to ask some questions. He did at the end of the press conference get a couple different questions, difficult questions, about his time at Ole Miss. Ross Dellinger, a native of the Mississippi Gulf Coast, asked a question about the timeline of how he left Ole Miss. And that was, he even said at one point, he's like, I thought I was going to get through this unscathed. In that time, Lane Kiffin had to actually answer the question, and it's now come out that a lot of that might not have been as true as what we once thought it was.
Exaggerated to say the least. You said you thought he was torn. I don't think he was torn the entire time, just following the process. I think he planned on leaving for quite a while. Bill?
This is just a weird odyssey, but it plays right into his persona, like you were saying. My thing is, and I like to think I have common sense, but right now, you're in a position to make a legitimate run at a national championship. You're going to ditch that to go to a place where they're still paying the former coach a buyout. They're probably still paying Coach O. And who knows, they may still have some Les Miles money going around. And yes, it is a fertile ground. It is a blue blood. But there is no margin for error for him.
No, there isn't.
And by the way, they're paying Bill, Coach, remember, the governor said he wasn't going to pay a big buyout after Brian
We
Kelly.
talked about that yesterday.
Well, guess what? Lane Kiffin's buyout is bigger.
It is bigger, and they're also actually they are still paying Coach O for I think one more month here. They have one more cycle still left to pay Coach O, and who knows? He might end up back on the LSU staff.
That's what I'm saying. That's true too.
But going back to what you say, like this is an unprecedented situation. Like college football is at the peak college football right now. If you typed Lane Kiffin's name anywhere, the masses of the amount of people talking about him, even up north in non-college football countries. But I'll also say this: I think it's really ironic. BYU's head coach had an opportunity to take the Penn State job. The crumble cookie guy came in and was like, I'm going to give you money here. Well, at LSU, they had the chicken finger guy for Raising Cane's come in and give them money. It is peak college football. What we're saying, you cannot script the stuff that's happening. But it's also ironic because Lane Kiffin was really one of the lone candidates in the country to leave a job, by the way. And he leaves maybe the best team, the best roster this season out of any of those coaches who had the chance to leave. He's the one who's electing to forego all that. And by the way, and I want to bring this up, and maybe we'll bring this up here in a second, but I think I'll just do it now. He was trolling his own fan base out the door. He was putting hats and saying, back in Oxford in 2026. He was saying in press conferences, quote, I think it's a good thing that people are talking about me leaving right now. They do it with our players. I think it's a good thing that they're talking about me leaving because it means that we're having success here in Oxford. It is a fascinating dynamic here. And of course, he then ends up leaving. What a mess for the people in Ole Miss, for the people, I think, really in college football, because you really have to look at the schedule and say, we need rules and regulations.
All right. And I'm well aware of his annex, Matt.
Yes.
I've spent way too much time looking at all of this. But as far as Ole Miss goes, the Rebels make a move quickly. Promoting defensive coordinator Pete Golding, and it looks like the players have rallied around him. They've got a game coming up now in just 2 weeks in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, and this is a game that obviously has the potential to be, if Ole Miss ends up hosting, like it looks like they will, the biggest revenue generator for the state of Mississippi for a sporting event in the history of the state of Mississippi. It is going to be massive if it happens. And Pete Golding is the guy that people want to rally around. He played football at Delta State. He coached at Delta State for a little bit in the defensive side of the football. In the defensive side of the football, he coached the safeties at Southern Miss for 2 seasons. He loves the state of Mississippi. He's from Hammond, Louisiana, not too far down the road. It's a guy that players love to play for. You talk to recruits who have come from this region and the coast who have gone to play for Pete Golding up there. They love him. He is a player's coach, and they gave him a round of applause. There's that leaked video that came out when Keith Carter announced the decision to put Pete Golding and place him as the head coach, and the players standing ovation.
Yeah.
That is exactly what you want.
That was genuine.
Absolutely.
You could tell. You could feel that energy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they walked out of that presser or that team meeting, quote unquote, and they were like, Pete's the guy. Pete's the guy. Fist bumps, cheers. They are rallying around this guy.
Who knows what's going to happen down the road? It could get weirder. But I remember back late 80s, Michigan's basketball coach went to Arizona State. Same time they were going to the tournament. They ended up winning the national championship with their interim coach, who ended up coaching the Fab Five and was there 20 years. So Ole Miss fans are hoping that may play out.
I don't know
again on the gridiron.
I don't know necessarily, and I don't want to say this to damper opinions, but I don't know that Ole Miss's roster is necessarily good enough to beat Ohio State. And I think that played a factor. You don't know, but I do think that played a factor into Lane Kiffin's decision, because if he genuinely, truly thought that this roster was good enough to win a national title, he would not have left.
Yeah, well, 11 wins in the SEC says a lot.
It does.
It's about entertainment, these games, and we've had a lot of entertainment.
Yes.
Matt, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Free
Good
juice.
insight.
Free juice. Free
That's
the
right.
dog.
That's
the
it.
dog doesn't deserve this.
Thanks for joining us, and have a great week ahead.